he was waving his hand. There were a bunch of people around me, so I wasn't really sure if he was waving at me or somebody else. So I looked at his face and I recognized it was my friend. Not exactly my friend, but you get the idea. But to think about what happens between the moment I decided I need to look at his face and the moment I recognize him as my friend, there are actually hundreds of questions you can ask yourself. So did I look at his face at once, or did I go from his hair, move on to his eyes and nose and mouth? And when exactly did I recognize him as my friend? In cognitive psychology, there's a term, hierarchical visual processing, that we use to describe such situations. So our eyes and our brain need to work together to combine information from multiple sources to make a judgment or to make a decision. Such questions we ask ourselves can be categorized into two groups, architecture and stopping rule. So architecture is used to describe how is the order, or what is the order of processing of multiple sources. So did I see the face or everything on the face at the same time, or did I process them one after another? The stopping rule describes when we need to make a decision or when we need to stop. So for a really, really close friend, I might be able to recognize him as soon as I see his eyes. But if I happen to know a pair of twins, I might have to examine every single detail on their faces to tell which one is which. The research in this field is usually done in such a way that psychologists build models, mathematical models, of all combinations of architectures and stopping rules. And then they fit the models to empirical data to figure out which one of the models describes the data best. It is common practice for psychologists to start simple, but for us, it's more like putting blinders on horses or even people. And we don't want to do that. So in our lab, we're trying to replicate the real world better by taking off the blinders. And we're doing that by presenting pictures to both of people's right visual field and left visual field. One thing we need to know is everything on our right visual field goes to our left hemisphere first, and everything on our left visual field goes to our right hemisphere first. And what makes the question more important and also more interesting, but also more complicated, is our two hemispheres actually do not work the same way. So our right hemisphere is more sufficient processing global information, like a face, and our left hemisphere is more sufficient processing local information, like eyes or nose or the mouth on the face. So we think it will be interesting to look at both hemispheres and see what happens when both of them are involved, but might be at different stages of processing. By doing this, to answer the question we're trying to ask, we need to collect both behavior data of how fast people make responses to pictures from different conditions, but we also need to collect brainwave data to help us understand what is actually going on in people's brains when they're making specific judgments. The last but maybe the most important question to ask is, why do we care? Why are we even doing research on this? So the processing I talked about is probably natural to most of us, and it's maybe too natural for us. We're not even aware of it. But unfortunately, it's not the same for everybody. So think of people who cannot see, and think of how our research can help them. Once we have all the questions in this field answered, we will be able to program the procedure in a microcomputer and maybe implant it in blind people's head. And how great it will be if it can help them see the world as we do. Thank you.